Hello and welcome back to Coding for Real with Neil. I'm your host and my name of course is Neil. This course is PHP for Real, where we take a look at PHP and we explain it using real world objects and real world scenarios. This lesson is the first in a series for forms. There's going to be a few lessons in this series. We're going to be looking in detail into forms and how they work with PHP and what PHP can do for forms. This first lesson is all about form handling. And the thing that I want you to think about during this lesson is the difference between an online form and a paper form. Okay, now with an online form, you fill out your details and when you hit send or enter, the form is blank, it's erased. The details that you entered are no longer there. Compare that to a paper form where with a paper form, once you write your details on the form, they are there forever. So if the person that's processing that form wants to refer to you by name, they just need to read the form. That's the thing that I want you to think about during this lesson. Anyway, some really good information coming at you in this lesson, and I'll see you in there. This lesson is going to be quite theory heavy because there's a couple of concepts that we need to understand. But once we've got through all of the theory, I'm going to be going through two separate examples at the end. So first, let's get through the theory. So this lesson, we're going to be talking about form handling with PHP. Okay, we have touched on this slightly in a previous lesson. If you did want to see what that was all about, click the link that's going to pop up here right now. But the first thing that I want to cover is that there are actually two ways of collecting form data in PHP. And we have covered these slightly. Wow, learn to type. We have covered both of these slightly, but I'm going to be going through each of them in a little bit more detail here. The first way is the get superglobal, and the second way is the post superglobal. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you here so that's a little bit easier to read. So both the get and the post superglobal both collect form data, but they do it differently and they have different use cases. Both of them create an associative array. If you don't remember what an associative array is, please watch this video that's about to pop up. And with this associative array, it's going to have the key value pair, just like always. But in this case, the key is going to be the name of the form control. The value is going to be the input data that's input by the user. That's what the key value pair for the associative array is. Firstly, the get method. So with the get method, this passes variables to the current script via URL parameters. That is the first difference. As you would have seen in the video, when you use the get method, it actually puts the information into the URL of the current web page that you are viewing. The second thing about the get method is that it is visible to everyone because it is passed into the URL, so you can actually read the information in the URL. The third thing is that the get method is limited to 2000 characters. The next thing is that because the information is passed via the URL parameter, it is possible to bookmark any pages with information using the get method. And lastly, because of the security limitations of passing information via the URL parameter, the get method is used for sending non-sensitive information. That is the get method. Now with the post method passes variables to the current script via HTTP post method, and it passes it to a file and stores the information in a file rather than a URL. Because of this, it is invisible to others because the information, the variables, are embedded in the HTTP request body. The next thing is that there is no limit on the amount of data that you can send via the post method. And because the information is not sent to the URL, it is not possible to bookmark. The post method is normally used for sending sensitive information like contact details, passwords, that kind of thing. And lastly, the post method is definitely more common among developers because of the embedded security implications of using the get method. So that in a nutshell is the two methods of collecting data in PHP and a rundown of the difference of both. And I'm now going to give you an example of how to use the get method and the post method within a form. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a very, very simple form using the get method. So what we need to do is we need to close our PHP here. And we then need to reopen the PHP here so that that one doesn't error out. All right, then let's just create a very simple boilerplate, HTML boilerplate. And we're going to put here get example, right? Then inside of the body, let's create a very, very simple form. So using Emmet, we put form. Action, we are just going to send it to the current file, which is index.php. And then we are going to use the method of get. Inside the form, let's just put in two very simple inputs. Let's put in an input. It's going to have a type of text. Let's put in a placeholder and put in enter name. And then in the name we're going to put name, because remember that the associative array uses the name as the key and the user input as the value. So whatever the name of this input field is will be the key, which will be on the left, and then whatever the user inputs will be the value, and that will be on the right. And then we are going to put in a simple submit button, which just creates a button, put the value as submit. Right, let's go have a look in the browser at what this is looking like now. So over in the browser, we're in lesson 13, we're in index.php, and we refresh, and we get a very, very simple form. Now watch what happens when I input my name here. So if I input my name and I press submit, you'll see the data being sent to the browser. So we hit submit, and you'll see we get the question mark, we get the input name as the key, and the value inputted by me as the value up in the URL, because we are using the get method. So now how do we echo this out? Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. So back in Visual Studio Code, we're just going to do something really, really simple here. So we need to open and close our PHP tags here. And then here we are just very simply going to echo. Then we will put welcome with a colon and append on using the get super global. It is an associative array. So then in here, we need to put the name of the key that we want to extract out of the get associative array super global. So this one here on the left, that is the key. So here we would put name, and then we would end the line just like that. So what this is going to do is it's going to look within the get super global associative array for the key that matches this input, which is this one here. And then from the URL, it is going to echo out whatever is the value that is input by the user. So back over in the browser. So over in the browser, we refresh, and you'll see that it is pulling out my name from here and echoing out my name. If we change the name to Barry and we submit, you'll see that it is saying welcome Barry, because the value of the key is name, the value is Barry as set by the user, and it is echoing out that using the get super global. Let's put in Sky, who is one of my cats. It's now saying welcome Sky, hi Sky. And let's put in Bugs Bunny, who is my other cat, and it is now saying welcome Bugs Bunny. And that is a very simple example of the get method of form handling within PHP. So now we're going to take a look at an example using the post method. And all I've done here is I've commented out the form that we made with the get method. And I've just copied it down here to use for a post example. I've changed the title to say post example. Then the only difference we're going to make is we are going to have the method as post, and then we are going to use the post super global. Everything else is exactly the same. Because it is an associative array, it is still going to use the key of the name of the input, and it's going to echo out the value that the user inputs. So the form works exactly the same, it's just with post. And let's go over into the browser and you'll notice one key difference. All right, so here we are over in the browser. We have post example set up. And then if I put my name in and I hit submit, you'll see that it still works. It's still echoing my name out, but it doesn't send the variable data to the URL. So let's put in my full name and hit submit. You can see it is still echoing it out, but not sending it to the URL. And that's because it is sending it as part of the HTTP request method. So the data is invisible, and that is really good for security. So this is what you do. You would put contact information in here because then it's not going to be visible to everyone. That is the key difference between the two methods, which are get and post, of form handling within PHP. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of this lesson on PHP form handling. You should now know a little bit more about how the post and the get method work within PHP for form handling, and you should know a little bit more about the difference between the two and how the two work. The next lesson, we're going to be continuing on with the forms mini series, and the next lesson is going to be all about form validation and how to validate data inputs within forms using PHP. It's a really exciting lesson, and I'll see you there. Before you leave, if you haven't done so yet, please do hit the subscribe button. It really does help me to reach and teach more people as I'm trying to help people along on their journey to learn programming. Because when I was first starting out and I was self-taught, the community was really good to me. So I'm trying to give back and teach as many people as possible my passion, which is programming. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.